The SMART goal setting method is a way of setting goals. It gets specific, measurable, right? And so you break down SMART into an acronym, right? And so we're going to go over that. But start with the goal setting. Who has done, let me start here. Who has done the circle of life, the wheel of life already? Who's filled it out, what we started with? You've done it, you've done it, you've done it. You're going to do it, you're going to do it. You've done it, you two are going to do it, right?
Keep changing it. That's the problem.
That's okay. So that's the point, is it's going to be an evolving thing, right? So as you think more about it, right, you don't have to keep going back and, oh man, it's not right. No, there is no right, right? That's the whole point of what we're doing. What we're really trying to do is you're setting up an ideal for yourself. It's like, it's not a goal line, like a finish line in a race. It's more like a star that guides you.
Guidelines.
So when you navigate, right, the sailors used to navigate before GPS, used to navigate by the stars. And the whole idea, and Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot in his work, which is one of the reasons I love Jordan Peterson's work. He says you pick something above you, something transcendent that you'll never reach, and you aim at it. And that's the whole idea of setting up your ideal. It's something to guide you to move forward. You mentioned yesterday you'll never perfect the game of golf, right? You'll never be able to attain that, right? So it's an infinite game. What an ideal is something to chase, right? Some people set God up as their ideal, right? And that's what the Christian idea is. You chase being like Christ, right? And that's beautiful. But what is it for you, right? You're not going to walk on the streets of Nazareth and carry a cross and die, right? It's a story. For you, this is, and actually I talked to somebody yesterday about how you bear your own cross, right? Listen, life's a struggle. And that's kind of some of what we're going to get into today. So let's go ahead. It's time to start. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start with a refresher, again, because we're not so bright that sometimes we need to see things 4 or 5 times before we start to actually figure them out. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. So the first thing on the success map was... See, Andre's the guy who always answers questions for me. What's the first question? Where are you? Where are you now, right? That's step 1. And then the second question, or the second step is,
Where do you want to be?
where do you want to be? Where do you want to go, right? So you got, where am I now? Where do I want to go?
How?
Third step is, why?
Why?
Attaching emotion to the path. Attaching emotion to the path, which we're going to spend more time on that today. The fourth one is what?
How? Who?
How, because we rearrange it to who, because trying to figure out the steps of how we get somewhere from A to B, from where we are to where we want to be, or in the wheel of life, from where we are to where we want to be, right? There's a step-by-step process, but there's somebody who's already done whatever it is you're trying to do. And so if you model successful behavior, you'll end up getting there faster. Okay. So, started off with the wheel of life. We went over who did and who didn't yet. Goal setting. Remember the goal setting exercise? You have a professional and personal goals, right? You split your paper in half. And I encourage all of you to do it. Do it this weekend if you haven't had a chance, right? Don't spend more than 10 minutes on it. Don't overkill it. Don't overthink it, right? If it's not perfect, then you're probably doing it right. Because this is going to evolve. That's what we were just talking about. Go get a notebook if you're brave enough. Get a notebook and let this be something that you return to, right? Let this be, because how many times are we going to do this in a year? 365 times. This is something every day. Now, we're not here every day. We're off on Sundays. I'm not here Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday every week, right? So it's not going to be a meeting every day. So every time I'm here, Saturdays we won't do it either, right? Because Saturday's a big day. Hopefully we're busy as can be. But this is a commitment for yourself. Again, it's not for me. I'm not doing this for you even, right? I've got selfish reasons for doing this. My hope is that because I can look at you and I can see how great you are, that you're going to at least take that. If you don't already believe that you can do it, at least you can take that and build on that. So the goal setting, get back to it. Sorry, you can get me on a soapbox about how great people are pretty easily. You got personal and professional. You got short term, medium, long term, and life, right? And you're going to start with your life by writing your eulogy. You're going to go out to when you're 100 years old, you pass away, and you get to give your eulogy. Write about that. If you haven't seen that, I'm not going to expound on it right now. Watch one of the videos. Was it the first video? I talked about the eulogy. The long-term goals are your 3 to 5 year goals. In 5 years, what do you hope to have accomplished? But I don't want you to think, well, in 5 years, this is what I hope to accomplish. I want you to go into the future, 5 years, look back with gratitude. What are you grateful for having achieved? Who are you grateful for having become? That's what we're going to talk about in a minute. Medium is 1 year. So 6 months to a year down the road, same thing. Go out 1 year and say, okay, I'm looking back 1 year from now. I'm looking back, in the past year, this is what I've done, this is who I've become, and I'm proud of that, and I have gratitude for it. And the reason that we do that, we talked about yesterday, is we're trying to align our feelings and our thoughts with the path that we're trying to take, right? So if my feelings are like an electrical impulse that I send out from myself, that's why you can feel whatever somebody else is feeling if you're paying attention. And my thoughts are something that attracts something to me, my goals to me. That's the law of attraction. That's how it actually works. If this is true, maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's not. You don't have to believe it. If it's true and we operate like it's true, then having gratitude for something that you have in your life already, even though you're a year down the road and you don't have it right now, technically speaking, it's the only way you're going to create it. That's how people who make things happen. They don't hope. I said yesterday that hope is the last thing to die. Don't hope. Figure it out, right? If you want to lift a certain amount of weight, you got to visualize it first, right? I mean, look, you want to get into it's a really good gym movie. Watch Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That thing will get you in the gym. All right, let me move on. Short term is 90 days, right? So in the next 90 days, you go out 90 days, say, I'm so glad that this is what I accomplished, right? One thing, because then the next assignment was that you're going to go to your long-term goals and you're going to say, if it were possible that I achieved my long-term goals, my medium-term goals in the next 90 days, what would that look like? Okay, go back and watch the other videos if you have any questions about that. Now, we're going to leave this for now. I said that we were going to go over that today. We're going to leave this because I watched back what we did yesterday, and I had a couple conversations that made me realize I would be doing you a disservice if we move forward too quickly. So I have some questions. I know some of you have already taken the steps to put stuff on paper and some of you haven't, so let's think about this together. Who believes that they are fully capable of achieving their goals? Okay. Just about everybody. You don't think so?
I had to think longer about that one. But of course,
Tell
you
me why.
should. Yeah.
Well, tell me why. No, tell me what you're thinking. If you don't mind.
I just wasn't focused. Just I thought, thinking about the days, looking back, how am I going to get there? The how sometimes are curious.
Mm-hmm. How is where most people stumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not moving on to it yet, because it's too important to do on a Friday afternoon. We're going to start that next week. Good point. So the question was, are you capable of obtaining your goals, the goals that you set? And just about everybody said yes. You had a great answer too. There is no right answer, by the way. There's no right answer. Let me ask you a very important question. And this kind of piggybacks on what you said. Ask yourself, you don't have to answer out loud. If you're brave enough to, go for it. But I'm asking you, what could stop you? What could stop you from what you're committing to?
Health.
Your health.
Yeah.
That's why body is a dimension on that circle, by the way. Because if you don't have your health, where are you going to live? Right? So your health could stop you. What could stop you from recommitting every day to being your best?
Nothing. Negative influences from other people.
Negative influences from other people.
Peers.
Okay? Will you allow that to stop you?
No, not me.
Will you? You've got to think about this. You've really got to consider it because it's going to happen. It's already happened to me twice. We're on day 4, and I've already had negative influences trying to tell me the way this isn't going to work. Now, I believe in you guys. You can prove me wrong. I don't think you're going to. I think you're going to show out. I think, and maybe not all of you. 1 or 2 of you might say, that's just too much. You're just asking a lot. Yeah, because I'm asking everything. That's what they said. You're asking a lot of them. I am. I fucking am. I'm asking you to be your best. That's a lot. And maybe you can't do it. I'll tell you what, I don't believe you can. In your present state. But I don't think anybody in this room, anybody who comes to these meetings or commits to watching these videos is going to stay in their present state. I think right now you're where you are because you created this life for yourself, myself included. I'm talking to me. That's why if nobody's in this room, I'm sitting here with a camera on me and I'm preaching to me. I'm doing this for me. So, welcome. So, who would you allow, right? I already said, I've already had 2 conversations. I've had many others that were very positive about what we're doing here, right? But I had 2 conversations that were trying to naysay. That's the best way to say it, right? Naysay, right? Because that's what the world is used to doing. That's what you're going to run into out there. As you're trying to make yourself better, you're going to run into people going, who are you kidding? Come on, stop doing that. Come on, nah, you don't have to do that. Oh, why are you taking it so serious? That's what you're going to get. So ask yourself, who would you allow to derail you from your commitment?
No one.
Who are you don't have to answer out loud.
Not even
but
yourself.
I would hope not. But see, yourself is going to be the biggest one because what happens in the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
The weak you says what? Come back, come back, come back, come back. Right? 4 a.m. when that alarm goes. Today was easier, right? Today I was still tired, right? But I wake up 4 a.m. that alarm goes off, and what did I do? I thought to myself for a moment, nobody will know. I threw my feet off the bed, I put them on the ground, I got up and went to the mirror. I'm sorry, I went to the, I should have gotten the mirror and broke it. I went to the closet and I put a shirt on. I started getting ready for the gym. We got ready and I went. I feel great. Listen, by the time 9:30 hits, I'm exhausted, as I should be. So if you have a problem with getting up early in the morning and it's something that you want to do, you say, hey, I'd like to work out in the morning, I just don't have the energy. Get up. Right? Well, I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Not if you get up at 4, you won't. Do that twice.
8:30.
Right? Well, I got to get up at 7, so go to bed at 1. You got 6 hours. Well, listen, yeah, by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, when you're exhausted and you fall asleep and you can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because you're getting the same amount of sleep, you just shifted when.
What I want to say is the brain is naturally wired to keep you safe, like to protect you. Like, so it's
You're
going
right.
to keep you where you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So you have to push yourself to make yourself uncomfortable to the point where that uncomfortable feeling is normal.
We're going to talk a lot about that. Thank you. What would have to happen for you to give up? That's ultimately what I'm getting at. What would have to happen? Ask yourself these questions and go over them, right? Speaking of being comfortable and uncomfortable, go over in your mind what would have to happen. Because if your answer is nothing, if your answer is no one could stop me, then you better be prepared. Mm-hmm. Just like you have a word track when you go downstairs and you're talking to somebody and somebody gives you an objection and you go through it. It flows off your tongue if you already rehearsed, but it's just like in the morning when I have to wake up. My answer is, fuck you. Right? That weak part of me that says, one snooze. 4 o'clock it went off. 4:09 you get out of bed. What's the difference? Your wife takes forever to get ready anyway. You're not leaving the house in the next 10 minutes. Sorry, baby. She's hopefully not going to watch this. But that voice in my head,
But if she's been getting up with you, then there's no.
or she gets up with me. Listen, no, she's a champion.
Now it's a competition.
She's been better than me.
That was a competition.
For years, I was up every day at 4 a.m. Then I came back into the car business. My schedule got thrown off, and I made excuses why I didn't get up. I didn't keep my commitment to myself.
It is.
Nobody's making me do it. I've got to. All right, so ask yourself those questions. Think about it. Right? Think about scenarios where it would be challenging. Right? Consider those things. You don't have to write them down. We're going to do a writing exercise in a little bit that will allow you to think through that a little bit better. But let me ask you this. Right here, right now, what negative emotions do you experience on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? What do you experience on a regular basis? Negative emotions.
Stress.
Stress. What kind of stress? And from what?
Work stress, I guess.
Work stress.
Teenagers.
Teenagers. Children. Absolutely, I understand.
Financial.
The big one.
Financial stress.
Complacency.
Feeling complacent.
Never be complacent.
Things are just
Always
out of your
have.
control.
Things are out of your control. What other negative emotions do you experience? Fear,
Disappointment.
disappointment,
That's a good one.
feeling inadequate, frustration, feeling lost, insufficient. Any of these? Feel like an imposter when you are successful, like, when's the other shoe gonna drop? So that's what you go through on a fairly regular basis now.
I think you have to be selfish. To be successful, you have to be at a certain level of selfishness.
A certain level of selfishness. That's interesting. Tell me about that.
Well, because if you're worried about how she's feeling, how your spouse is feeling, how, you know what I mean? You work out schedule, but I got this to do. If you bring their schedule into your schedule that you're determined to do, then you get messed up. If you're selfish and you're like, no, I got to take care of me first, and then I'll take care of you. A lot of people are like, hey, that's no way to live. But to be truly successful, if you look at the people that are truly successful, they do their own thing.
Self-care.
You know what I'm saying?
So selfish.
To a point. I mean, I'm
To a
not
point.
saying, you know,
So
don't
if you're in
take
a
care of
plane,
people.
if you're in a plane and the oxygen mask comes down, what do they say?
Take care of yourself before you
Put
take
yours
care
on
of
first before you try to help anybody around you.
Exactly.
Right? So yes. So
It's a-
self-care is important. Yes, you should be able to have, and it's not selfish.
Yeah, self-care, not selfish.
It's not selfish
Well-
to take care of yourself. I understand what
Well,
you're saying,
people
and I
call it
agree with you.
selfishness.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
There's a lady named Ayn Rand. She's a great philosopher. She wrote a book, The Virtue of Selfishness.
Ayn Rand is a great one to read if anybody's
Yeah, so-
trying to pick up a book. Yeah, listen, absolutely. Selfishness, as we define it, is a negative virtue, right?
You look at great salespeople, big time salespeople. They don't care about what he's doing, she's doing, you're doing, whatever. They care about the customer.
Is that selfishness or is that focus?
That's professionalism,
It's
I
focus.
think.
So hang on. Yeah. So let's not get off track here.
But people be like, well, he never moved.
Let's not get
cars,
off
he
track.
never
Yeah,
does
yeah. Let's
that.
not get off track here. What I'm asking you to experience, or what I'm asking you to think about, is what are some of the negative emotions that you experience? And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because in 5 to 10 years from now, where are you going to be? If you keep on the track that you're on right now, if you keep on the path that you're on right now, you'll be 5 to 10 years older doing what? Experiencing what?
The same thing.
The same thing. I hope not.
Yeah.
Sad.
I hope not, because that's what we're here for.
Setting new goals.
That's what I'm here for. I hope so. But that's why when I came back from the Arizona desert, I said, you know what? I've got to do something different. I've got to do something different. And I'll share with you a little bit of my why, because I'm about to ask you guys to do something like this. So I am where I am, and I'm happy. I'm complacent. I've got a great job, which I love, but it's not where I want to be in 5 years. So I said, if I could accomplish in the next 90 days what my 5-year goal is, if it were possible, what would that look like? So in 5 years, I'd like to be in a GSM position somewhere. In a year, I'd like to be in a sales manager position somewhere. So I said, well, how do I get there in 90 days? And I said, well, at the end of the week or beginning of next week, I'm going to start this thing. Who's interested? A couple people said yes, and I said, F it, I'm going to start it today. So I am doing what I hope to be doing in a year or 5 years. This is what I plan to be doing with other salespeople, with another team. Because I probably won't be here. I probably won't be in Somerville in 5 years. I hope that when I leave here, you guys continue to do this. And I'm not leaving anytime soon. But I went out into the future and I said, where am I? What does that look like? And I said, let me start doing that now. Let me start living that now. Now I'm going to grow. And what we do next week and the week after and the week and the following month and the following month and next year, it's going to be different. It's going to be better because we're all going to be leveling up. I hope. I believe it. And that's why I say, this is 100% voluntary. Come if you want. So what do you say to yourself? What's the story you create? Think about that. What you say to yourself on a daily basis, we talked about yesterday, right? Your feelings, your thoughts. We talked about when you speak into existence anything, it will come true. So if you say, I can't do something, or this guy's not a buyer. No crap. You just said it. You got a deal, right? You're sitting with a customer, he's not buying. And then they send out a closer and all of a sudden you got a deal. What happened? They sent out somebody who believed in something. They sent out somebody who said, I'll show you. They did that to me when I was on the sales floor. I was fortunate enough to have a sales manager that believed in me as a closer. And go for it. I was fortunate enough to have a sales manager who believed in me as a salesperson. We had a customer who had already told a buddy of mine 4 or 5 times that he wasn't going to buy at that price. And said, Stephen, go close him. And I went out and I did it. And it was because I hadn't heard him tell me no. So I went in there and I said it as many times as I could, how grateful he ought to be able to pay cash for a vehicle like this. Most people aren't in a position that they could do that. I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't ask you to take advantage of this deal today. Do me a favor, sign right there. All right, so I want to ask you a question. The things that those of you who have already written down your goals, or if you haven't written them down, there are things that you want to obtain. There are goals that you want to attain, right? Think about those. What are they? What are those goals? What do you hope to accomplish? And the reason I'm asking you to think about this is I'm going to ask you to write about something in a moment. We talked about the 365-day commitment. We talked about every day recommitting to who we can be. You have what you have right now because it's what you demanded you have. If somebody says, well, I want to sell 15 cars a month, and they don't, then you're lying. You're lying to us as managers, and you're lying to yourself as a salesperson. You're lying to yourself. You have everything that you want right now. Because if you wanted it bad enough, you would have it. There's a story that Eric Thomas tells about a young man who wants to be successful. And so he goes to this guru, right? And he says to the guru, I want to be successful. He says, you want to be successful? He says, yeah, I want to be successful. He says, great. Meet me tomorrow at 5 a.m. at the beach. All right. Guy shows up. He's wearing a suit. Shows up 5 a.m. The guru's there in the sand. He says, oh, you want to be successful? He says, yeah. He says, come with me. Walks him out to the water. This guy's like, what is he doing? I want to be successful. I want to be like, I'm going swimming. Takes him out in the water. He says, you want to be successful? He stops on the edge. He's like, yeah. He's like, then follow me. He takes him in knee deep. This guy's in a suit. He's like, oh man, what is this? What am I doing? Takes him about waist deep, pulls him further. Takes him about chest high. Grabs him, puts him under the water. And the kid is fighting, trying to get out. And just before he passes out, he lifts him up. The kid's gasping for air, right? He says, when you want to be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. So right now, in your insufficient condition, and you're present with all your inadequacies, with all your flaws, you have exactly what you've demanded of life thus far. You have everything that you want. So my question to you is, what do you really want? Do you want to sleep more than you want to be successful? Do you want to party more than you want to be successful? What do you really want? Now, the exercise I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to write. I want you to write. Think about 5 years from now. You make the changes that you're thinking about right now. The commitment to yourself to grow over the next 5 years and obtain the goals that you have for yourself. The things that you want to do for yourself and your family. Right, just for 5 minutes. Right, for the next 5 minutes. Write about what that looks like for you. Go ahead.
5 years?
In the next 5 years. Now, I'm going to stop you before we get to 5 minutes, and I'm going to ask you to do another exercise. Right? So really, I'm going to give you about 90 seconds. But write it as though you got the time. Write it. It doesn't have to be any good. It could be terrible. But write it. You make your commitment every day moving forward to be your best. This is your standard. What does it mean to you? What are some of the things you have? Why is it important? What kind of feelings come with that? And it doesn't have to be full sentences. You can list things. There's no rules here. This is yours.
And just what you really wanted to write down, what were...
In 5 years, you've made these changes. Every day you've committed to your greatness, and you're reaching your goals. You're making accomplishments hand over fist. What does it mean to you? What are some things that you have? What are some emotions you're experiencing as a result? How glorious does it look to you? All right, so everybody's gotten something down. So that's the first part of the exercise. I want you to give yourself, once you, if you haven't already put your stuff on paper, if you haven't done the Wheel of Life, if you haven't done the goal setting, I encourage you to do it this weekend. Take like 10, 15 minutes. Don't make it a long, drawn-out process. And then write for 5 minutes. Give yourself an opportunity to really write. Really get it out on paper. Why? Because you're clogging up your brain if you don't. That's why I encourage people to get a notebook. I learned this the hard way. Well, actually, a good way. I learned, but I modeled somebody else's success. Right? Somebody else, Tony Robbins, had a big impact on me in my mid-20s. And he journals. It's like, why would somebody like Tony, he's a billionaire, why does he need to journal? Well, listen, what is up here will clog you up. Get it out. It's between you and you. You don't have to share with anybody. Right? You don't even have to keep it, you can burn it. All right, but that's the first step. Then the second one, let me look at this one.
Let's go downstairs.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the next 5 years.
The next exercise is, what if you don't make the change? What if you don't? So the next exercise, what I want you to write is, what if you don't make the change? What's the negative emotions that you're experiencing? How stuck do you feel? How bad does life get if you don't commit to this? So what you're doing is you're setting up heaven in the first scenario, and this one is hell. What if you don't excel? You move backwards. Everybody else is surpassing you. Everybody else is making their commitments. And you've decided to give up. There's somebody that said something to you that said, nah, it's not worth it. Don't do that. Nah, it's a waste of your time. You guy's full of it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You can't pay the bills. You got bad relationships with your family and your friends. What is that like? What does that feel like? So the reason, all right, and you can stop for now. The reason I ask you to do that, and I ask you to actually practice, to start putting stuff on paper, is because we are motivated by pain and pleasure, right? We move away from pain and towards pleasure, but we are more willing to move away from pain than we are to move towards pleasure. So do yourself a favor. Set up that heaven. Go through the exercise, go through the circle, the wheel of life, go through the goal setting exercise, write down your why, get clear on what it is that is emotionally driving you. Why do you do what you do? And set up, and this is what this is part of. Set up what it looks like, what that victory looks like, what it looks like and feels like to win. That's the heaven that you're moving towards. Like we talked about the ideal, the star that's guiding you, move towards that. And then spend about 10 minutes writing about the hell. If you don't commit yourself, and feel free to exaggerate it, because it can get terrible. Set up a hell that if you just skate along, how bad it could be. And use that to push you forward. You see, you've got this good thing moving you forward by pulling you and attracting you to it, and you've got hell behind you pushing you so you can run from it. If you're running from something you don't want and towards something you do want, you're going to run twice as fast. All right, that's all I got for today. I appreciate you guys joining me.
Good deal, man.
Next week we'll